This one simple trick secure their retirement. I'm just laughing because it's not a trick. And there's a couple things these guys could do. All right, so I just got off the horn and working with these people from Illinois. We'll call them Bill and Debbie. Bill and Debbie from Illinois, and they're crushing legends. Worked with them for a couple years now. In fact, Bill had referred, I think, his sister to me. So great people. Anyway, so Bill jumps on his right capital and he notices his probability of success has dropped to 21%. And Bill's like, yikes, what's up with that? And so he gets on the annual review with me. It's been a couple years since we had an annual review. And because I'm so dastardly, I charge $500. I said, well, Bill, I'm happy to discuss this with you. $500, baby. Because I'm such a dirty capitalist. Give me that sweet, sweet money. Don't forget to subscribe and like the channel and comment too so I get that sweet, sweet YouTube revenue. Anyway, so these guys are good. They're good to go. And I could see a mile away as I'm doing my prep for their call what was going on here. And as such, I figured I asked if I could share their information with you guys. And they said yes. And obviously, you don't know who these people are, but they're just legends. So let me show you what's going on here. Well, first of all, Bill jumped on. He said it has a 21% probability of success, which is way off from what we used to have. He's like, what's going on there? And I'm just going to show you real quick. So we're going to go over here to our current plan. Again, you don't know who these people are. We're going to see our expenses, right? So they're between 60s, basically mid-60s. We're going to kill Bill off down here at 90. So Debbie will be a widow there. But you'll see their current expenses go from 121. And they're going to go all the way up to 203 by the time Bill dies. And it's just inflationary. We're just running this basically an all-in 3.5% inflation. 5.5% on day-to-day living expenses. 5.5% on health insurance expenses, healthcare costs. 3% on day-to-day living. Real estate, in this case, is 3%. Real estate, property tax, whatnot. All that stuff. So their expenses are growing by essentially a 3.5% clip each and every year. And again, as you can see, what that means, it goes from 121 down to 203. Their day-to-day living, $5,000 a month, $27,000 for the housing cost because they got a mortgage on the first house. They got a property they're paying $2,000 a month on. They got their long-term care premiums here. And they got their health care costs. Health care is growing by 5.5% clip. Housing is growing by whatever their the housing cost in terms of they're paying down the mortgage and whatnot, but the actual cost of the housing, insurance, homeowners, and all that, property taxes are growing by 3% a year. So this right here is growing by 3% a year as well. All right, so you see it's growing by 3% a year, growing. So by the time they're 75, what was 60,000 a year, and this is just their day-to-day stuff. You know, go see the Atlanta Falcons. You know, go fly to Boston, see the Celtics, whatever. That's what we do. Is growing each and every year. By the time Bill is 75, it's at 76,000. All right, because it's growing each and every year. So what do? Just one simple change. It goes from 60,000, 3% each and every year until they're 75, and then it drops by 10%. Their living expenses drops by 10%. Notice housing costs are still going up, healthcare is still going up. This cost is still going up. So their total expenditures at right here drops from 143 to 136, a $7,000 drop in total expenditures, or $7,000 divided by 143, a 5% drop in total expenditures. All right. If we go back to, so we got it went from 143 to 136. Back to the current plan of 143 to 147. So basically a $9,000 change in their total expenditures. And we're going to do the same thing at 85. Your expenditures are going to drop. Their day-to-day living expense, not this other stuff. All this other stuff is the same. Their day-to-day living expense will drop at 85 years old. All right. That's so under the current plan, which we're not dropping expenditures, is 105. Under the proposed 75. All right. So we see it drops from 156 to 148 under the proposed plan. Under the current plan is let's see what it was. It dropped from it was not one, didn't drop at all. Under 85 is 156, right? There's a 175 to 181. So there's about $25,000 to $30,000 drop when they're in their mid 80s, right? From what it was before. So their total current expenditures, watch this. Total current expenditures under the current plan, where it's adjusted each and every year with inflation, is 3.915 million before they both die at 90. The proposed is basically 6. So basically $300,000 to $350,000 less is what they'll spend over the course of their life expectancies. And that changes it from a 21% probability to a 100% probability. Very interesting. And now you're saying, yeah, but Josh, that's a lot of money. It's like, dude, where is the evidence that your expenditures go up like that each and every year? Show me the evidence. If you say, have you seen the price of eggs or anything? I'm just going to laugh at you because I've had real professionals who are well known in this business tell me that. I was like, this is just stupid. Show me the evidence that people's expenditures go up each and every year with inflation. I'd love to see it, man. Now, the other thing they could do is I want to show you something else here too, because it gets kind of important here, because I think a lot of people miss it. If they had a 21% probability, and here's their net worth, you'll see by the time Debbie is 90 years old, she has $12,000 in net worth. That's it, and not net worth, in investable assets. She still has $1.16 million in real estate because she has 2 houses. They got their vacation home and they got their primary residence, 1.16. So has she run out of money? No. Why? Because she has 2 houses, plus she has Social Security, and she has a pension in this regard. Even if you don't have a pension, you still got Social Security. But you have over $500,000 in a second house. So what could she do? Well, she could easily just, liquidate one of these houses. And what does that do? Look, so her net worth, she still has a positive net worth. It's not like she is broke. She could liquidate a house. And I just told her too, I said, Debbie, are you really going to go to your vacation home when you're 85 and Bill's dead? Probably not. Especially if you ran out of money, probably not. And it'll show you what happens here is if you just liquidates one of those houses, and I had this after 15 years, and when she's 81 years old, her probability of success jumps up to 100%, and she has $718,000 of liquid assets left. Right? So what happens with these Monte Carlo is they're just showing how much liquid assets you have left. They're not showing how much your income you have or how much your net worth. They're not showing that at all. You could have $200,000 of income. If you're spending $200,000 of income, and you had no other income, no other asset, no other liquid assets, it would still show you a 0% probability of success. And you're like, but I don't have a 0% probability of success because all my money, all my expenses are being paid for by my income. It doesn't matter. Monte Carlo only uses the likelihood of liquid assets left over, investable assets, essentially. You could be sitting on freaking Donald Trump and have all these real estate. You could be a real estate maven. If you're spending all your money that you got coming in, you're like, everything I got is going out the door. You haven't run out of money, but the Monte Carlo says with a 0% probability. Anyway, the point being here is if they liquidate a house without even reducing their expenditures, they're at 100% probability of success. And in this case, they're leaving liquid assets higher than they were before. They're leaving about the same net worth because they liquidated one thing over here and they put it over here. It's just a seesaw thing, or your 2 pockets. We got a left pocket of our real estate assets, right pocket of our investment assets. Just because it says a 0% probability doesn't mean you've run out of money. It just means you run out of investable assets. You still might have income from other sources or assets from other places. So these 2 things, just reduce your spending when you hit 75 and 85 by 10%, no big deal. Or liquidate one of your properties, no big deal. Or you can do both and they're fine. They're fine. So anyway, is that likely to happen? Of course. Come on. So don't get wrapped up in the Monte Carlo failures. Obviously, if you don't have assets you could liquidate, obviously, if you can't afford to reduce your spending, well, yeah, you should get wrapped up in it. But if you're living on, let's just say, assets that you could liquidate, or if you're living on income that you might be able to reduce because you're like, we just spend too much. I buy too many ribeyes. So then, friggin', you're fine, regardless of what the Monte Carlo says. All right. Don't forget to paw that like button. Love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe. Help me get that sweet, sweet YouTube revenue. Don't you want to help me? Yo, buddy Josh, don't you want to help me? We'll see.